皆さん、英語のソータです。
And I'm Riley.
Hey Riley, today we're going to talk about your financial situation. Like how much?
Okay, yeah. Don't
Yeah,
worry. I have no secrets
yeah, like how much do you get from Yuki or yes,
from Yuki. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'm really excited to hear that. Oh, and also, did you see? Oh, you already finished the gender reveal party and the cherry blossom viewing event.
I did.
Okay,
Yes.
how did it work?
How did it work? Um,
Like boys and
yeah,
girls?
so
Yeah.
I mean, mostly it was cherry blossom viewing. Like I got there pretty early to help my friend set up the mat, the blanket, whatever you call it.
Mhm.
Um, and then so yeah, mostly we were just hanging out, drinking and eating, and then eventually they brought out a cake for
Mm.
the actual gender reveal.
Oh.
And so it was the plan was if it was blueberries inside the cake, then it was a boy, and if it was
Mm.
strawberries, it was a girl.
Oh.
And I guess neither the mom or dad knew which one it was, and
Mhm.
I guess they gave like some note from the doctor to the cake maker.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but it was, or it is, a girl.
Okay, then strawberry.
Yeah, strawberries.
Is that common, like using blueberries and strawberries?
Um, I've never heard of it before. I don't know where they got the idea, honestly, but obviously, yeah, blue and red or pink
Hmm.
are the common ways to reveal it. But I guess
Mm.
doing a cake was their kind of their way of showing
Mm-hmm.
red or blue.
Okay, yeah. I wanted to know how they did that. So, yes, now, yeah, like strawberries versus blueberries. I understand
Yeah.
that. なるほど。はい。皆さん、最近ちょっとこう、桜のお話プラス、gender reveal party ってね、こう、性別が男の子か女の子かどっちかっていう、ライリーのお話じゃないんですけど、ライリーのね、お友達がお花見でそれするからって言ってて、どういうふうになんか桜のね、お花見の場でするんだろうね、みたいな話題が上がってました。桜を使うのか。で、ね、男の子だったら、まあ、そもそもこの赤、青って今の時代ね、男の子は、青、女の子は赤とかって言っちゃっていいのかなっていうところもちょっと気になりますけど、そこも含めどうやってね、男の子の場合するんだろうみたいなね、お話が上がってましたが、そう、最終的にはケーキでね、ブルーベリーだったら男の子で、いちごだったら女の子でっていう風に、こう、やったっていうことでしたね。で、両親ともその性別ご自身も知らなくて、病院の先生からね、メモみたいなのもらって、それをそのままケーキ屋さんの人に渡したっていう、なんか、あ、そんな風にするんだっていうね、ちょっと面白い視点がありましたね。ごめんなさい、ちょっとどうしても気になっちゃったので、it's getting longer, but I have one question about it. Like,
Oh, sure.
It's um, sometimes people say we shouldn't, uh, you know, choose the colors for each gender.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes, it becomes controversial. So in America, people don't care about the colors, like blue colors for boys and red or pink colors for girls.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think people have the kind of the same idea about, oh, maybe colors shouldn't mean like boys or girls, like blue shouldn't be for boys and stuff like that. But I don't know. At the same time, I think they kind of, how can I say this? They are. But at the same time, if a boy wears pink or something like that, I don't think it should matter. And I would say that in the US it doesn't matter anymore. I don't think people maybe, elementary school kids or something might say, "Oh, you're wearing pink, you're a girl" or something, but like, adults, I don't think adults care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially about the gender reveal party, I was wondering if Americans don't care about the colors or, yeah, because compared to Japan, they're kind of advanced and they're really sensitive about those sexuality or gender
Hmm.
things. But
Yeah.
about that, they don't care much about the colors.
I mean, obviously it depends on the person, but I think colors probably don't matter so much. I would say that there are some people in America who don't, how can I say this? They don't want to assign a gender to their baby, like until their baby kind of says, or maybe not says, but like shows what gender they feel like. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
So that does exist, which is maybe a little bit more advanced, as you said, than like the color thing. But I don't know. The colors are symbolic. I feel like people in America wouldn't say, "Oh, you shouldn't say blue is for boys" or whatever. It's just kind of is. They might say though, you shouldn't have a gender reveal party because you don't know the child's gender until the child says I'm blah blah blah. Yeah, I don't
Makes
know.
sense. Makes sense. The kids are not born yet, so maybe biologically we can decide on the colors before they are born, like blue for boys and
Right.
yeah. I understand. なるほどね。確かに。ごめんなさ
Oh,
い。ちょっと、
also, I should say, sorry, I know this is getting long about the gender reveal thing, but I should say my friend, the father was really hoping for a boy, and he looked pretty disappointed when the strawberries became visible. He
Okay.
almost, I don't know, but he might have cried a little bit.
Oh,
Hopefully,
that
hopefully his
obviously.
future daughter never listens to this episode. But obviously, yeah, he will love his kid, whether it's a boy or girl or anything else for that matter.
なるほどね。はい。皆さんすいません。ちょっと僕が長引かせてしまったんですけれども、まあ一番最後にライリーが言ってたのは、そう、男の子がね、パパさんは欲しかったみたいですけれども、女の子ってなったらもう明らかに悲しそうな顔してて、ちょっと泣いてたぐらいって言ってて、あ、なるほど、そこも感情結構はっきり出すんだなっていうのが面白かったのと、そう一個気になってたのはね、今、まあ日本でもそうでしょうけど、なかなか色でね、性別を決めるっていうところに、まあ敏感になってきてるとも思うんですよね。ランドセルの色だったりとかも含め。ね、特にアメリカとかってそういうのが日本よりもさらにすごいこうね、発展してるというか、こういろんなところにケアをするイメージがあったので、ジェンダーリビールのパーティーの時にね、こう赤は女の子で青は男の子って、それなんか問題になったり、話題に上がったりしないのっていうのがどうしても気になって、今聞いてたんですけど、やっぱりこう、生まれてきてから、本人自身がどういうセクシュアリティがあってとか、あるいは本人がどんな色を好むかとかはやっぱり気にしないし、本人が、この色って言ってるのに、いや、それは女の子の色だからみたいに、やっぱ決めつけるのは向こうでは絶対しないし、そこは敏感だと。でも、生まれてくる前の、まあ僕の解釈としては、biologically って言ってましたけど、生物学的にね、男なのか女の子なのかっていう、そこに関しては結構もう色で結びつけて、まあ、パーティーですからね、どっちの性別かっていうのを決めるという意味では、あんまりそこは気にしてないかもっていう、気にする人はいるけど、そんなにかもっていうお話でしたね。なので、ちょっとそれも含め、皆さんに、一個こう視野がね、広がるお話になってると嬉しいなと思います。では、今日はライリーのお小遣いについてね、話していきたいなと思いますので、Are you ready, Riley?
Yep.
そうたと
Riley no
台本なし英会話レッスン
episode 309.
Okay, what is the topic for episode 309, Riley?
It's getting an allowance in the US versus Japan.
はい、今回のお題は、お小遣い、アメリカ vs 日本です。で、すいません、めっちゃ手短に告知しないといけないので、ちょっとすいません。4月29日に14時から祭日の日なんですけど、新宿の紀ノ国屋さんの書店で、参加費不要の、英会話レッスン、トークイベントをさせていただきます。出版の、一応イベントとして。で、1時間ほどさせていただいて、いろいろ英語でもう即興でお話ししようと思ってます。僕のスピーキング頑張ってた学生の頃のお話を英語でしたり、あと英会話レッスンをね、させていただこうと思うので、もう満席にはなっちゃってるみたいなんですけど、立ち見でも来れますの、お越しになれますので、はい、お近くの方はぜひ立ち見でもいいので見に来ていただけたらなと思います。英語のソータ、 紀ノ国屋書店、イベントで調べてもらうと詳細とか載ってると思うので、ちょっとネットでもね、検索してみてください。ちょっと長くなってすいません。Okay, I wanted to, or I have been wanting to talk about this because in
Mm.
Japan, sometimes on TV shows or on social media, or yeah, sometimes I hear that husbands get an allowance from, their wives. Then that's a kind of mm, not system, but system in their houses. And then husbands sometimes have some limits for that. And then at the time, I felt like in the States, I feel like they're kind of individual. So they also have that kind of system in their house. So I want to talk about this topic.
Okay.
Yes. So first of all, uh, how much does Yuki-san give you? Or do you, in the first place, do you have that kind of system in your house?
No, of course not. No, we don't have that
Okay.
system.
Really?
No. What do you
Eh,
mean, really? Of
uh,
course not.
yeah, because in Japan, that's kind of common and it's
Is
getting,
it really
Mhm.
common?
Yeah. Um, it's changing maybe, but especially during the Showa era, almost 100%, I guess, women were taking care of the finance, and then, salaryman in Japanese, like working guys cannot eat what they really want because of the allowance system. So that's kind of common in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah. Then,
I've
mm,
I've never heard any of my friends. I of course I have heard about this like as a thing.
mm.
I always thought of it as something that like was old fashioned and doesn't really happen anymore. 'Cause I've never heard any of my friends talk about it, that they have like an allowance or anything like that. Any of my Japanese friends, I mean.
Oh, really? Even Japanese friends?
Yeah, no, I've never heard of that.
But perhaps they do that actually, but they just don't talk about it? Or
I get it's
mm,
possible, yeah. I mean, maybe.
because business guys are eating, for example, udon for lunch, and
Mm,
then they cannot get what they really want, like not about lunch stuff. That's kind of
mm,
common in Japan, but gradually, maybe it's been changing. Then recently, young couples are saying, our finance are separated, and
mm.
yeah, each of them can spend their money freely. But sometimes, people say, "Oh, that's kind of surprising," and "Oh, that's new way of thinking." People react to that kind of style like this. So apparently, hearing your reaction, maybe in the States, that's not common at all.
The allowance thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't
Oh,
think that's common at all, no.
wow. A lot of listeners are surprised right now in Japan.
You think so?
Mm-mm-mm.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
That's amazing to me.
Then how, yeah, do you guys or do they take care of their finance in their house?
Yeah, I think most people in America, most whatever married couples,
Mm.
they probably have they probably share a bank account. I mean, they nowadays they probably have several bank
Oh,
accounts, you know, a
oh,
savings account, a checking account, and a blah 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 account. I don't know. But money is shared,
mm,
I think. And
mm,
then how people spend money is not like yeah, it's I think it's pretty free.
mm,
Of course, you know, like if somebody buys something expensive, then the other person might say, "Hey, you know, next time you buy something expensive, talk to me first or whatever." You know, like I remember one time when I was a kid, my dad liked to ride bikes. I do too, but he was more into like racing and stuff like that. He rode road bikes, still
mhm,
does. Um, but so he one time bought like $2,000 or $3,000 bicycle,
うん。
just like over a weekend or something like that, and brought it home. And I remember my mom, I don't she wasn't angry, at least in front of me.
うん。
She didn't get angry, but she was kind of like, "Oh, you bought a bicycle.
う
Like
ん。
that looks like a nice bike, like so maybe they talked with it later when I wasn't around or something." But I think that kind of thing, yeah. Couples usually talk about like big purchases, big financial decisions,
うん。
but day to day, like what the husband eats for lunch or
うん。
whatever, the wife has absolutely no
う
say
ん。
in.
Yeah, so one of the common things, uh, you know, married couples talk about, you know, for each is like husbands are saying like, I'm eating udon or ramen, like a reasonable one for lunch, but my wives are having, luxury lunch with their friends. And then, yeah, that's kind of, common complaints in Japan. And
I
then,
I have some experience with that, I think. Like
mhm,
these are just of course like my own things that I've noticed, but like yeah, if I used to work Tuesday to Friday, so my weekend, sorry, Tuesday to Saturday, so my weekend was Sunday and Monday.
mhm,
So sometimes Yuki and I would go out for lunch on a Monday because it was our day off, right?
mm, mm,
And sometimes we would go to like not a nice restaurant, but like a little bit nicer, like a
mm,
kind of Italian restaurant or something like that.
mhm,
And when when we did that, pretty much 100% of the people in the restaurant would be women, either like
right.
maybe a grandma and her daughter, like two generations, a mom and daughter, or like a group of what looked like mom friends or
Mm,
something like that. So I did actually see that
mm,
kind
mm,
of a
mm,
lot. But at the same time, I'm guessing that men maybe go out for dinner with their coworkers after dinner and maybe they
mm, mm, mm,
drink beer or whatever. They spend a lot of money on dinner, maybe not so much on lunch. That could probably happen too, right?
mm, mm, mm. But in general, those guys are saying on social media, or yeah, even my friends too, not friends, like people I know were
Mm,
saying I can spend only this amount of money, because my allowance is blah blah blah. So women can spend as they want for lunch, but like
mm,
guys cannot spend as they want. And then yeah, who was that? I forgot, but someone I know was saying it's kind of better for my wife to take care of my finance because women are really pretty good at, managing those finance,
uh-huh.
he said.
Right.
Yeah, but I have my own opinion for that. But yeah, let me translate first.
Sure.
うん。そうそう。僕も知らなかったので聞きたかったんですよ。これ、お小遣い制度ってアメリカにもあるのかっていう。で、まず結論から言うとね、僕がね、思ってたのは、なんか、あんま男女とかでその決めたくないんですけど、なんかここに関してはね、男性側がね、なんか女性の尻に惹かれるみたいなんて日本って結構そういう構造多いじゃないですか。で、まあ今はだいぶなくなってるのかもしれないんですけど、鬼嫁みたいなんて一時テレビではすごい流行って、もう女の人が全部牛耳ってます家庭ではみたいな、まあそういう方がうまいこといくっていうのもね、一個視点としては僕はあると思うんですけど、なんかああいうのを見たときに、なんか男側のその威厳もそうですし、自立という点で見たときに、その男女関係なくね、こう、どっちかがどっちかの財布を握って、お金をなんかこう、お小遣い制度で渡してるっていうのは、それは男から女へ、女から女へっていうのも、逆か、女から男へっていうのもそうですけど、なんか、僕は違和感をずっと昔から感じてたんですよね。で、特に、まあ、今の時代は女性も働くようになってますけど、特に昔って男性が働いて、男性がね、こう、稼いでくるお金っていうのを女性が管理して、 で、さっきも話題にちょっと上がってましたけど、女性はお昼は好きにランチ食べてるけど、男の人はね、安いうどんでとか、で、嫁に怒られるからみたいなのは結構日本あるあるのお話じゃないですか。でも最近は多分時代は変わってきてるので、そこは変わってきてたりするとは思うんですけど、プラスね、その今ライリーが言ってたように、その分男の人は夜飲み会行ってるとかもあるとは思うんですけど、でも結構日本では、お小遣いがいくらだから、これだったらまた女房に怒られるわ、みたいなんて、今でもね、ネットで見たりとかそういう話ってあるじゃないですか。多分日本人の方は今、わかるわかるって思って聞かれてると思うんですけど、あれがなんかすごい疑問だったんですよね。これって、やっぱ自立心とかをすごい大切にするアメリカとかってこういう制度あるのかなって気になってて、今回話題に持ってきたんですけど、そう、ライリーの答えとしては、もうびっくりと。本当にあるのってびっくりしてましたよね。ないと、アメリカでは。で、一応お金はシェアされてると思うけれども、基本ね、それぞれが、こう、なんですか、自由に使う。で、お金は1個の口座に入れる場合もあるかもだし、まあ、それぞれが持ってる場合もあるかもしれないけれども、お小遣い制度みたいなのはないからびっくりっていうお話でしたね。で、さっきのそのご飯のお話もそうですけど、なんか、なんでしょうね、僕の知り合いとか誰か忘れたんですけど言ってたのが結構女性に管理してもらった方がうまくいくからみたいな、誰だったかな、結構身近な人だったんですけど、なんか知り合いで未だにも言ってたりとか、でも、例えば、身近なやっぱ若いカップルとかだと、もう別々ですとか、お互いに、それこそアメリカスタイルですよね。お互いに稼いだものを一つの口座に入れて、まあ、お互いに使いたいものを使って、みたいな感じにしてるっていうお話だったので、まずここ日米のやっぱ大きな違いがありますよね。Yeah, so I was kind of saying now in Japanese, but especially that kind of style was common and really popular, especially during the Showa or Heisei eras. I was always wondering, and then I was feeling uncomfortable with that because I feel like men are not individual in that way and like giving allowance to each other could be the representation of being controlled by the other one. So I sometimes feel like, oh, men can be also more individual without caring about, how much they want to spend or they can spend, especially in the past, that money was the one men earned. So, oh, running up.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, that was the thing I was always kind of disagreeing with. But what do you think, Riley? Why in America people, share their money because
Why
of
do
the,
people share
yeah,
their money?
yeah, because of the individual thing.
I mean, that's very interesting that you're saying sharing is an individual thing. I don't know if I really agree with that. I think
Mm.
sharing is a kind of, you know, group thing, right?
Mm-mm.
So I think that when people get married, at least from an American perspective, they become like kind of a unit together,
Mm.
right?
Mm-mm.
They're married. So then as a result, they often, share a bank account and share money in general because they are kind of acting as one, not one person, obviously, but kind of one, yeah, unit,
Mm.
entity, one, whatever,
Mm-mm.
you
Mm.
know, family, I guess is
Mm.
the word that people usually say. They're one
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Maybe, those couples who have the, allowance system also think that's kind of unit and that's one family. But I said that's not about individuality, because men are kind of controlled by women in that house. So um, yeah, I feel like Mm, yeah, I feel like that's individuality for each. Like women also earn their own money and then they spend as they want, and men at the same time do the same things. So I felt like, oh, that's kind of individual thing in America.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I can see where you're coming from calling that an individual thing, but I mean, in a good, healthy relationship,
Mm,
I would say that people would talk about, again, major purchases. You don't have
mm,
to talk to your wife and say, "Hey, I was thinking about going to the Italian place for lunch instead of going to, the cafeteria
mm,
at work or whatever." You wouldn't have to ask that kind of thing. But yeah, if you're thinking of, yeah, I don't know, buying a new computer or whatever,
mm,
you would talk to your husband or wife about that.
mm, mm,
Um,
mm.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
you can ask your Japanese friend like how much allowance do you get every month?
uh,
Then,
I'm
mm,
thinking like nowadays, right? People still use cash in Japan more than in the US, I think, but people use cash less and less now,
mm,
right?
mm, mm.
So how do you get an allowance if you pay for everything with a card or with Apple Pay or whatever, one of those PayPay or something like that? Like, does your wife put money into your PayPay account every week or every month or something?
Yeah, I don't know how they're doing that, but they,
Yeah,
yeah, get some yen or something in cash or on those apps. Then, yeah, somebody, I don't remember or I can't remember who they were or who it was, but that guy was saying, I give my wife has my own credit card, he said. So he can't, use his credit card because he wanted to do it. I'm not sure.
mm,
But yeah, in Japan, usually most of the time, especially in the past, women were taking care of, those credit cards or
sure,
finance. うん。
right.
そこがやっぱりね、なんでなんでしょうね。ここの違いがなんか僕は個人的に今面白いなって思うのと、でも本当にね、今の時代はすごく変わってきてると思いますよ。ちょっとずつ。でもやっぱり未だにいろんなところで、なんかこれ買いたいのに、Oh, I want to buy this, but, my wife will be mad at me, so I can't do it とかめっちゃ聞くじゃないですか。あれはそう、なんでなんだろうなと思って、そう、アメリカにはあるのかなと思ったら、やっぱりね、ないっていうことだったので、僕はこれをね、今、ライリーって言ってたのが、インディビジュアリティと捉えてるんですよね。で、そう、ライリーは、インディビジュアリティってこれはそもそも言っていいのかなみたいな。なぜかというと、もう、ユニット、家族として捉えるっていうことなので、仮にお金をね、みんなでシェアしてるとしても、それは共有してるもんなので、ちゃんと自立してるとかっていうところじゃなく、なんかシェアしてる気がするんだけどって、そう言ってて、うん、それはその通りなんですけど、なんか僕的には、お互いに依存せずに、お互い使いたいものを使って、なんかね、稼いだもんは自分が使いたい時に使うっていう感じで、インディビジュアルな感じが、なんだろうな、not too dependent、こう、依存しすぎてない感じがするんですよね。でもなんかお小遣い渡す渡さないとかになると、片方がなんかコントロールしちゃって、どっちかがどっちかになんか頼っちゃってる感じがして、なんかもっとお互いがね、自立する感じでできないのかなとかって昔から思ってたので、そういう意味でね、individual っていう単語を出してましたけれども、ごめんなさい、単語リスト今日あんま出してないですよね。unit っていうのは一つの単位、一つの塊、unit。あとは、big purchases って言ってましたよね。大きな買い物っていう purchase はね、購入すると大きなものをね、表したりするときに使いますし、他なんか単語ありましたかね。finance、あるいは financial っていうね、金銭的なっていうところのお話の時にこういう単語は使えたりしますかね。そう。じゃあさ、もしな、if you can, or if Yuki-san gives allowance to you, how much do you need or do you want per month? 1ヶ月ど
Per
れくらい欲しい？
month.
そうそうそう。
For
サラリーマンだいたい
and
3万やで。うん、3万。うん。
for a month. For a month?
Yeah, for a month.
So that is like that doesn't include food, right? Usually the wife would like buy the groceries for like food at home,
あ、いや
right?
いやいやいや、うんうん。
So that's just for like my whatever,
うん、
free
whatever.
money
Yeah,
and
free money.
entertainment or something like that.
Yeah, for the gym or for the food.
Wait, so my gym membership would come out of that Sanman in
Yeah, of course. Yeah, someone was saying that on social media. I can't go to the gym because of the, allowance amount. I can't spend that much, he said.
wow. Uh I would need more than Sanman, I think.
ああ、
Like,
なるほどね。うん。
yeah, I would need Goman, I think.
At
I think.
least. うんうん。
Yeah, I think I could survive on Goman, but yeah, that's
なるほど。
hard.
なるほどね。聞きましたか？もうお小遣い制度がね、驚きっていうプラスアルファ、やっぱ最低でも5万はいるって、I could survive って言ってましたけど、could はね、こういう時に使いますけど、控えめにできる気がするみたいな感じですけど、5万あったらいける気がするけど、みたいな、つまりもうちょっと必要っていうね。そう、でもなんか、まあ、これも本当にね、ネットで見る情報とかよく聞く話なのであんまわかんないですけど、3万とかね、っていうのはよく定番だった。本当にサラリーマンの方とかって、昭和とかね、昔は特に定番だったんじゃないかなって思うんですけど、そうそう、それで思い出したのが、最近ネットかなんかで見たのが、お小遣いいくらみたいなのを街頭インタビューしてるみたいな感じだったんですよね。で、旦那さんにね。で、その方もでも30代だったから、それもまだ若い人ですよね。で、いくらですみたいな。で、もう、ジムにも行けなくて、みたいな。そういうお話をしてたの、そういえばあったなと思い出して。なので、やっぱりまだ日本ではお小遣い制度ってね、なんか女性が管理してっていうのはある気がするのと、さっきもライリーにも言ってましたけど、旦那さん自身がもう嫁に管理してもらっててみたいなのも結構聞いたりする気がするんですよね。でもなんか、もし僕が結婚したら、なんかそれって、僕はそれを自立とやっぱ捉えちゃうので、自分でちゃんと管理して、自分でちゃんとやりたいって思うので、まあ今風な考えと、ちょっとね、昔のやり方の考えとでも分かれてくるのかもしれないですけど、なので今のね、最近若い子って結婚したら、そうやってもう自分のお金も取られちゃうから結婚したくないとかっていうメンズとかもいるじゃないですか。なのでまあ結婚して結構バラバラにっていう人も増えてきてると思うんですけど、ここがやっぱりね、今日の会話からは、日米でこうやってなんか、夫婦間のお小遣い制度って違うんだなっていうのは、ちょっと感じていただけたらなと。プラスアルファあくまで僕の意見なんですけど、もっとなんかお互いに自立という意味で、お互いがね、稼げるだけ稼いで、まあそれをシェアするなりして、自分が好きなものをお互いに話し合いながら自由にやっていいんじゃないかなと思うんですよね。で、なんか、女の人が男の人に、はい、こんだけ使っていいとか、その逆もしかりですけど、なんか、僕はなんか違和感だなって昔から感じてたので、ちょっとその価値観はね、なんかちょっと決めつけちゃってたらすいませんって感じなんですけど、なんか誰かの一個の視野の広がりとかになったら嬉しいなと今思いながら話しました。じゃあ、あともうちょっとだけ allowance に関して話したいのが、So far we have been talking about the allowance between couples or married couples.
Right.
But when we were kids,
Mm.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah, can I say one
Mm,
more thing about allowances?
okay. Mm,
Or for adults rather. Obviously, we're
mm,
still talking about allowances for kids, but like in America, it's not exactly an allowance,
mm,
but you will, I would say, often hear men complaining that their wives are. So I'll be the man, right? A
mm,
man would say, "My wife is spending my money. My wife is spending a lot of my money."
mm,
Because, you know, I mean, it's not as common anymore, but it used to be the case that men would work, men would make the money at a
mm,
job, and women would stay home with the kids, or
mm,
that kind of thing.
mm,
And then if a woman buys like something expensive for herself, like I don't know, jewelry or a purse or something like that,
mm,
the man would complain. I think nowadays I still hear it sometimes, like on podcasts or comedians. Maybe it's mostly funny nowadays. I don't know if
mm,
people, but probably people really do still say it. But men will complain like, "Oh, my wife bought a purse. She's spending all my money."
Mm,
Of course, they're married, so it's not the man's money, it's the family's money, it's the
mm,
couple's money, right?
mm,
So, yeah, but it's almost the opposite, I think. It's not that men will say women you they won't say to their wife like, "Oh, you can't spend that much money," or "I will only give you this much money every month," or something, but men will often complain, at least to each other, that their wife is spending all of the money that the husband made.
You mean nowadays?
Yeah, I think it still happens nowadays. It's probably
Mm.
was more common in the past, but um yeah, I think I still hear it nowadays,
Oh,
especially in
mm.
comedy.
You mean husband doesn't, he said.
The husband does say
Does.
it, but probably not as much now as 20, 30 years ago or whatever.
Uh, um, mm, mm, mm. Oh, so in the past, people were complaining more.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't.
in the past men
Mm,
would complain my wife is spending all my money.
mm,
And
mm,
nowadays, maybe it happens less because one is probably because that's not such an acceptable thing to say because of feminism and stuff like that, but also
mm,
because probably the wife has her own money.
mm,
Nowadays, the wife probably works too.
mm. Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about that too. Like nowadays, women are also earning their own money. Um, so that's why still I feel like that's not really good in Japan. Still, um, yeah, because in the past that was okay because women were staying at home, and then that was kind of that moment's trend. Like women were taking care of the finance. Then, yeah, in Japan in the past too, uh, wives were given an allowance to their husbands, but that was okay in the past. But nowadays, women can also earn their own money. Then men are also doing that. Then I feel like they can separate their own earnings. Then they can spend their money as they want, but still men are kind of controlled. Then I wonder why. Then,
Yeah, I
mm,
mean, yeah, I think there's two ways to do it. They can have their own bank accounts from their own jobs if they want, and then share some bank account for like paying rent or paying for the house or whatever. Or they could combine their money and just talk like in the American style. You
mm,
combine
mm,
your money and talk about what to buy and stuff. I just realized something though. I think in Japan, banks have the most inconvenient hours I've ever seen.
mm,
Like in America, they're not great.
mm,
They're, or at least in the past they weren't. I think they're getting better now, but in Japan, banks are never open when I need to go to the bank.
mm,
And do you think that's because, like, I've thought the bank is open from like 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock. It's like
mm,
10 a.m. to 3 p.m. or something like that.
mm,
How am I supposed to go to the bank when I work from 9 o'clock to 5 p.m., right?
mm, mm,
And I think, tell me if I'm right, that that's because the people who are working in the past, the men, were not expected to go to the bank. The
mm,
woman who's not working and has free time during the day can go to the bank.
mm.
Do you think that's why banks have such bad hours now?
Yeah, perhaps that has an impact on, the system of women controlling the finance, perhaps. But yeah, at the same time, oh, then in the States, how many hours are available?
I think there are some that are like maybe not 24 hours, but that are like open late now. And also I think people don't go to the bank that much anymore.
Oh
Like
yeah,
everything's
right.
online now. You don't
Mm,
really
mm,
need to do stuff at the bank anymore, except maybe when you open an account, maybe when you make a new account, maybe you have to go to the bank for that. But I feel like you might even be able to do that online
うんうんうん。
nowadays.
うんうんうん。確かに
But
ね。うん。
yeah, in Japan, I
そう。
don't think that's the case.
うん、確かに。そう、一個まあ、余談として、こうね、出てたお話として、日本は銀行空いてる時間が女性が行ける時間しか空いてないじゃんっていう。なのでもしかしたらね、そういうもう女性が管理するみたいな風に、まあ、どっちが先かは分かんないですけど、ね、そういう時間だから女性が管理するようになったのか、女性が管理するからそういう時間に空けてるのかは分かんないですけど、もしかしたらそういう影響もあるかもね、みたいなね。確かにね、それも一理あるかもなって。あるかもしれないですよね。プラス、そう、最後はちょっとね、子供の頃のお小遣いのお話はしたいんですけど、なんか今ね、最後話したのが、あのー男性、そう、僕もね、もう昔はいいんですよ。やっぱもう昔と今って時代がもう本当にギャッてガラッて変わっちゃったので、ね、なんか、本当に女性が家庭にいて、で、男性が働いて、で、まあ、女性がお金を管理してみたいなね、もうそれが主流だった時代っていうのはあると思うので、僕はそこは別に否定はしたくないんですよね。なんか、その都度その都度に時代の流れとかトレンドっていうのはあると思うので、ただまあもう平成ぐらいになってくるともうなんか女性が牛耳って男が尻に惹かれてみたいなあの構図の作り方みたいなのはなんか違和感だなっていうもう男女関係なくそれ逆の場合だったらね女性差別とかってなるでしょ。でもなんで男性が尻に惹かれてるみたいなそういう感じのは平等みたいなのは言わないのっていうのは昔からなんかちょっと思ってて、もう男も女もつまり僕のやっぱ根底にあるのは性別関係なくないっていうとこなんですよね。で、どっちかが力が強くなるとかじゃなくて、お互いに尊重し合って、お互いに自立し合って、お互いに助け合っていきましょうよっていうのが、もう今も昔も変わらずの僕の根底にある多分考え方なんだと思うんですよね。で、まあ、ライリーも話してたのが、昔はやっぱアメリカもね、まだ今ほど女性がこんなに働いてっていうのが、アメリカでもまだやっぱ少ないってなった時に、男性のお金で女性がね、いっぱいお金使うって、なんか高いもの買うってなったら、まあ、ジョークとしてでも、嫁がめっちゃお金使ってみたいなのは昔は結構あったと。でも最近はやっぱり、男性が仮にちょっとね、稼いだお金を女性がね、シェアしてるアカウントで使ったとしても、やっぱ文句をちょっと言いにくい時代でもあるし、プラスやっぱ女性も稼いで、そのね、共有してる口座であれば、一緒に口座にお金入れてるはずなので、やっぱこう、仮に女性が大きな買い物をしたとしても男性が文句を言わない時代になってきてるよねと。まあ、つまりこう解釈すると、こう、アメリカでは特にやっぱりお互いが稼いでお互いに好きなものを買って自由に行こうぜっていう風潮なんだろうなっていう。ただ、そんなアメリカでも昔はやっぱね、システム的に男性が外で女性が家でっていうのはまだあったので、女性が使いすぎてる時は男性が文句言うことはあったけどっていう、今はそれはないと。ってなるとそうなった時に僕は思うのが、日本も同じじゃないですか。昔もそうだったけど、女性は家にいて男性外でっていう。なので、その時代になんかその女性が管理してとかだったら、まあまだわかるとして、今はもう違って、女性も働いてるし、つまり女性も自分のお金はもうある程度管理できる時代にもなってるし、プラス男性もってなって2人で共有していくのであれば、なんかどっちかがどっちかにお小遣いをあげるとかっていうのは、そう、なんか古いんじゃないかなっていうところにまあたどり着いちゃうっていう、つまり今時代の変化とともにね、そう、女性もこんだけ進出してるし、社会に、ね、なんかお互いにこう共有し合うっていう形が日本ももっと、僕は個人的にそういう、結婚するのはそういう形にしたいなっていうのはすごいあったので、なんか男性がね、もうお小遣いでもうコントロールされて何もできないみたいなのはちょっとかわいそうだなと思っちゃうことはあるかなっていうお話でした。そう、最後に、So when you were a kid, how much did you get as an allowance?
後半に続く